started the series of Saturday classes, and I decided my first class, I would start with the first meal of the day, since moms generally wonder, again, you know, if they're trying to go healthier and they don't want to do boxed cereal, sometimes they wonder what else is there besides oatmeal. And there are better options. There are handouts, and they're right here, so follow along with me. I kind of, with my handout, I decided to make it kind of the Miller family breakfast schedule, kind of how I rotate through the grains and things that I do use for our weekly breakfasts. And then I shop accordingly. I do stay pretty close to this for the things that I shop for. Now, you'll notice Monday and Thursday is our millet day. Millet is a grain, it doesn't have gluten, and it's very easily digested. And my kids love millet. And I love millet because you can do a million things with millet. We do breakfasts with millet, we do tacos with millet, we put it in soups, we do casseroles with millet. It's so versatile, you can do everything. So breakfast millet, this is what it will look like, but it is especially good if you use fruit. Now, if you guys want to come up while I'm talking, I don't mind if you come up and get a little taste. It's a little bit in a state, slightly warmer now than if you wait till the end. But when you get the millet, this is coconut milk. And in my coconut milk, it's just water, shredded coconut, and I use the date rolls because they're more condensed than just a few dates. And I don't have to get the pits out, that's the other thing. So I just throw in 2 date rolls and a little vanilla and the water and then the shredded coconut. And you have a beautiful coconut milk. And it's cheap, and kids love it. So,
do you strain it?
I don't strain my coconut. If it gets too thick, I just add a little more water. If it's too pulpy, I blend it again, add more water, and blend it one more time.
And any salt?
Yes, and a little salt. So something salty, something for a little salt, a little sweet, and vanilla. And that's how I do my coconut milk. So, the other cool thing that my kids really love with the millet is I blend it into a powder first in this, just alone with just the grain, and then bring the water to a boil. And this one you just kind of guess with the amounts because some people like it more runny, some people like chunky. It's kind of like your cream of wheat. So I call it cream of millet. I didn't actually type the recipe out, but I did put the idea, steamed millet or cream of millet breakfast. So you'll know what that means. It's just the blended, floury millet. And you just whisk it really fast. This one does clump very easily. So whisk really fast to the consistency you like. And then we love a drop of cinnamon oil. If you have essential oil, cinnamon oil is really good. Or just, your cinnamon powder is really yummy on the millet. So fruit makes it go a long way. I've kind of tried to start doing, instead of a bowl of grain with a sprinkle of fruit on top, I've tried to do a bowl of apples, sprinkle some raspberries with a scoop of millet on top. So try kind of reversing, instead of the bulk being the grain and you know what I mean, make the bulk the fruit, what has the most nutrition, and put your thing that's a little heartier on top of it, as you normally would do your fruit. So, and then, on top of this, put your flax seed, put your sesame seed, put your chia seed, put your chopped, soaked nuts. You can do a million things, but that's your base. Or the apples, your base. Great base for the millet. Any questions? Oh, and I do cook with coconut oil. When the water's boiling, add a little coconut oil to it, and it makes a yummy flavor. And any questions about the millet?
Do you just do it in your blender?
When I powder it, yeah. My personal favorite is buckwheat. I didn't bring any cooked buckwheat, but you'll just notice the idea, and it's the same thing. A bowl of apples, with some raisins and some cooked buckwheat. And then the millet, it seems to, and I actually have noticed with the kids, it seems to stay with them longer. If it's just a bowl full of millet and a few apples, it doesn't seem to last as long. If it's more apples, a little bit of millet, or the buckwheat with a little bit of apples. So just so you know, the buckwheat does tend to sit to be more longer winter or cold month. In the summer, you'll find that a smoothie is going to feel better. You know, the other thing I did not add to this sheet is herb teas in the morning along with your breakfast, or fresh fruit juices, carrot juice as well. So this is kind of more, I don't know, it just feels nice and comforting in the winter. It's nice to have cooked cereal. But in the summertime, as you're starting to get more fresh berries and things, garden produce, stuff like that, I think you'll find you probably don't need, and your family doesn't need the cooked grains quite as much. Maybe more toward the granola type stuff with fruit. Okay, so then the next thing after the buckwheat, my kids, they still like cold cereal. I just never buy it, ever. With some maple syrup and a little salt. And then a handful of these date rolls. I put those in my food processor, mixed it really well, and then just kind of worked it by hand on my buckwheat grain. And then after it's really well mixed, I put it on the dehydrator, and then it dehydrates several hours. You'll feel the texture. It feels, it's not sticky or wet anymore. It's just nice, and it's just got a fun texture. And the buckwheat is softened because you've sprouted it, and I dehydrate it at the lower temperature so it stays live. It stays living. So that's our granola, and there's a million ways. Put coconut, put pineapple, put mango, make a tropical blend, do cranberry, do cherry, you can see that the sky is the limit with that, and it's just a fun, this is great for traveling and backpacking.
Do you ever do one with oats rolled?
No, I haven't, but you could. Yeah, soak your oats, rinse them very well, and then roll them, dehydrate them first, and then roll them. That would be another option. The next thing I did, this can actually be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. This is just the shredded potato and yam, and it's just like it is just a casserole, but it kind of, since it's shredded, it kind of has the feel of hash browns. And I baked it with some cashew cream sauce, and it's just garlic, cashews, water, salt, and pepper. And then I put bell peppers on top, and I forgot to do this. Normally I'd probably put thyme or oregano on top of my hash browns, so that would go very well with this. But kind of switches up the breakfast thing, so you're not doing grain every day. And husbands like the hash browns. Mine likes something like this. So we'll let you taste that in a little bit. And then the last thing, I've tried to experiment with waffles, and the thing that I've tried to get away from is gluten, so that does away with the wheat, and eggs, and butter, milk, anything dairy, and also the baking soda. So this, I think you'll find, is a very fun option, and the ingredients are very, very pure. It's just the millet, the buckwheat, coconut, my almonds, I soaked them, and coconut oil, a little bit of honey, and some salt, and that's it. So I will just blend it. All right. So for my syrup, I didn't make it for you. I figured we'd just put some berries on it. But if you have a little maple syrup, I stretch it out for lots of meals. Typically when I make syrup for the kids, I put some frozen fruit, berries, or raspberries or blueberries are probably the favorite, or strawberry. And then I add quite a bit of water. If it's a cup, if it's this amount of raspberry, I'd probably add, three cups of water. And then just a little bit of maple syrup, or a little bit of honey, maybe a drop of lemon essential oil. And I try my kids have done very well with my experimenting. As I've cut back on sweet and sweetening everything, to the maximum amount, they don't complain anymore. They don't. For the millet, instead of sweetening it, I just sweeten this with the date rolls and pour that on, and with the apples and the raisins, they don't say anything. They don't know that it's not loaded with honey. But they love it, and I feel really good about. Well, while we're waiting for that, why don't you come up and just try some stuff.
I'll let you know if I try this.